Welcome to the Practical Consciousness Podcast with James and Lisa, where we help you tap into your highest selves in everyday life. Hi, welcome to Practical Consciousness, the podcast with James and Lisa. I'm James.
And I'm Lisa.
The always lovely Lisa.
Thank you.
She bows. Today we wanted to kind of go back a little bit. We're kind of doing this, going back to the roots a little bit. And it's going back to the roots, but we're really kind of diving a little bit deeper into the practicality, I think, of some of these things so we can drive the concepts home. And so today we wanted to go back and go back into mindfulness and the practice of mindfulness, and really go into that more out of kind of leaning towards the practice of mindfulness and the different various ways you can do it. And the kind of what's driving us to go here with you guys, our listeners, is Lisa and I have put together this program that in case you haven't joined the haven't done the free 30-day trial of the Practical Consciousness Tribe, little plug here, we're actually going to be doing this course with the tribe members, but it's something that we offer together, and it's a course on mindfulness, and so it's hot in our minds, and it's got some really good exercises and practical things, and so we wanted to introduce it to our podcast listeners so they can kind of experience that a little bit.
Yeah, can I say something about going back to basics?
No,
because this came.
Yes, of course.
This came up. This is a podcast where we communicate with each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
It's a conversation. So this has come up for me recently, like just this past week and last week, is that, I teach my clients some of these different concepts about, mindfulness or meditation or judgment or self-love or whatever. And I give them tips of things that they can work on. And I'm starting to realize that, oh, that's something I used to do, but I don't do that anymore. So I've gone back, and especially with us creating this new material for mindfulness, I've gone back and started some of these practices again. It's ongoing. It's lifelong. It does not stop. You don't advance to a new level and then stop. It doesn't work that way because we're human, and our habits are really ingrained in us. And so you just got to keep practicing. So you might stop meditating for a while. Like for me, meditations come in and out of my life. It's been more constant lately, but there were times when I didn't meditate for a year or two or whatever. You just go back to it.
I think that's a really great point, because I noticed the same thing as we've been poring over the contents of this course. I've had the same experience where it's like, oh,
yeah.
I mean, I forget that myself, and I contributed on my side is, you can only invest so much attention, right, to certain things. And I think our higher consciousness practice evolves, and and it's like there's a 101 and a 201 and a 301 and a 401. It's like you sometimes you just have to go back to the basics because you kind of lose touch with them. Yeah. So let's talk about mindfulness. And let's talk about the practice of mindfulness. So real quick, super fast primer for those who maybe are just starting to tune into us. When we talk about mindfulness, our definition of the mindfulness is really just bringing your awareness to something conscious that you want to bring your awareness in. We talk about in the course, think of your awareness as a flashlight. And wherever the beam of light is shining on, that's your awareness. And that you're not the flashlight. You're the one holding the flashlight. So you're pointing it to wherever it goes, right?
Yeah. So it can be just like, my awareness is now on this pen.
Yep. And it kind of bleeds out everything else. And that's the start of becoming mindful.
Yes.
Right. And we talk about meditation is one way to do it, because you're quieting your mind, and you're bringing your awareness to your breath, or you're bringing your awareness to your body, or you're bringing your awareness to the smells or the sounds or whatever it is. You can be mindful going on a walk because you're bringing your awareness to your feet, the pattern of your feet, or the birds singing, or the
What's
smell
around
you
you.
smell, whatever.
Yeah.
That's mindfulness in its simplest definition. Would you agree, or anything you would add to that? Or
No, it's everything you do in your life, you can be mindful doing it. Everything.
yes, yes. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about the practice. Now, the advantage of being mindful is most of the time, most of us, I would say 99.99999% of us, 90% of the time are we're stimulated by something, something occurs, somebody says something, something happens,
Yeah.
and we have thoughts and emotions,
Hmm.
usually subconscious, and then we
Usually.
react
Yeah.
based on our judgment or whatever it is. And so we can
Yeah.
get pissed, we can get excited, but it's a reaction.
Yeah. Or we can just go into a line of thinking that
Yeah,
never
yeah, yeah.
stops because you
Yeah,
can be
go
alone when this happens. You can
right.
just be like,
You can ruminate on something or
hmm,
whatever.
yeah.
Tell yourself the story.
Hmm.
And so when we talk about being mindful, we're talking about really, and especially the practice, we're talking about building up that muscle so that when the thing occurs, the difference is when the thing occurs, whatever it is, and you suddenly step out of you take a pause because you're mindful. You take a
Yeah.
pause and you notice how you're reacting, the story you're telling yourself, what you're thinking, what you're feeling. You
Yeah.
notice it,
Yeah.
and then you respond. You make a conscious choice of how you're going to respond.
Right.
And in that, we start becoming higher conscious.
Yes.
It's the
Because
foundation to consciousness.
yeah, that's what, yes. Because then you're awake and you're making conscious choices and not just whatever the habit is or whatever we get stuck in these ruts and we just stay down in our rut and we don't even think about it. We just
Yeah,
ride along in the rut.
yeah. Stimulus, reaction, stimulus, reaction, stimulus, reaction. And like you said, sometimes that's just a spiral.
Hmm.
So, and then also, when you're when you're making conscious responses to what's occurring in your life, you're higher you're increasing your awareness, you're increasing your vibration, and you're manifesting the and back to kind of law of attraction, you're manifesting the life you want.
Yeah.
You're creating your life
Yeah.
versus, okay. So that's kind of that's why we're talking about this. But you don't just do it. It's a practice. It's a muscle. Unless
Yeah.
you've built that muscle up, it's really hard to just do it.
Yeah. So an example of that is I was talking about how in the past, I'd studied or I had practiced some of these things way back when, trying to be mindful. And so I would every day when I ate my breakfast, I would pay attention to how it would taste and feel in my mouth and smell and all of that. And then you and I have been working on this content, and I was eating my breakfast the other day and I was swiping through Facebook. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not being mindful at all. I'm not enjoying this breakfast at all.
Mm,
So I
yeah, that's a good
stopped doing
example.
that. Yeah, I don't and I was on there because somebody had told me about something that, like, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, but somebody had told me about something that I wanted to go and check on. So anyway, it's easy to fall into the trap of not being mindful and, with something as simple as eating your breakfast.
Yeah, our ego wants to distract us. It really does. Um, and so, kind of like, so the difference between this episode and the episode where Crystal and I talked about mindfulness and some of the practices is um, we talked about some of the ways in which you can become more mindful. What we're talking about today is a way you can build a practice. And so it definitely is going to incorporate these different activities that we might do.
Mhm.
But what Lisa and I really wanted to talk today about is really establishing a routine or building a practice in a way that you can build that muscle. Um, that episode was a long time ago. If you're a long time listener to us, then you're probably already done some of those things. We're really kind of talking about how to make it a practice. build it into your life.
Yeah.
So Lisa, my first question for you is, what would you say is the enduring practice that you've brought into your routine in your life that has helped you um, strengthen that mindfulness muscle? What's the one and most enduring practice?
It's going to be meditation for
You know,
me.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, because because it's something that I decided that I was going to do every day. And so I meditate every day. And for me, meditation's usually either like all the things you said, either I'm just focusing, I do it, it's different every time, focusing just on my breath, focusing on sort of on my body, maybe a part of my body. Um, Sometimes I even think about how am I feeling? I don't
Hmm.
think about it, but I just kind of sit with that.
Yeah,
So, meditation for me is the main one. I do also find that I'm very mindful when I'm like showering and getting ready in the morning. For me, that's just a time when I've noticed over time that I actually pay attention to what I'm doing
yeah,
because I enjoy it so much because I really love hot, really super hot water. I enjoy it, and I enjoy getting ready and picking out something to wear. And so I'm not like thinking about, what am I going to do next? I got to
yeah.
go grocery shopping. I got to go get to work. I got to do this or that. I actually am pretty mindful when I'm doing. So for me, those are, if, other than meditation, that's an area in my life where I tend to be more mindful.
We have a running joke that um, Gus, God Universe Source, likes to talk to us when we're in the shower. We
Yeah.
seem to get all these insightful
Yeah.
ideas.
Lots of people do say that. They
Yeah,
get like in these ideas when they're
yeah,
in the
that and
shower.
3 in the morning.
Well, yeah, that too. Usually
um,
3 in the morning is fear for me, like things
oh,
that
I
you're
see.
worry
I see.
for
Yeah,
me anyway.
yeah. I get insights. I get ideas at 3 in the morning, and then what are you going to do with it? Okay, so I think a lot of people would say meditation is that kind of basic
Yeah.
discipline that they can start to establish that helps to build that muscle.
Yep.
Um, as you've practiced meditation, because you can't always meditate right through your day,
Yes.
what anchor have you discovered through your meditation? And
For,
and yeah, go ahead.
I would just say the connection to my body.
Okay, so focusing on what you're feeling in your body has become an anchor for you.
Yeah. And even my breath is part of that. But yeah, just like here, right here, physical body,
Yeah.
what I'm feeling, what I'm sensing, maybe how I feel, my skin feels, or my clothes feel on my skin, or my breathing, how my breathing feels, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Interesting.
So you could do
Um,
that anywhere. You can do that standing in line at the bank 6 feet apart from everyone else.
well, that's why I asked you the question, is because that's where, um, as you establish a practice, sometimes starting with a meditation helps you become aware of an aspect that you can anchor into,
Hmm.
and then that anchor can be utilized in any situation. It
Right.
just pulls you into the present moment. It holds you in the present moment, so you can start paying. You can have that pause. So
Yeah.
an example would be like, so you might be standing in line at the bank, and some lady cut you off, or some lady
Or
jumps in
man.
line, or man, or whatever, and you can say to yourself, "That's rude." And then it's like you take that pause and you start paying attention to your body. Oh, I'm tensing up.
Yeah.
Um, Lisa is reacting to this in a negative. She's got a story she's telling herself about the negative pieces of this. You just
Yeah.
notice it, right?
Yeah.
But it's only
What's
because you
yours?
anchored.
What's yours? What's your anchor?
I also found my anchor through meditation. I actually I have three. Um, when I'm meditating, my anchor is, it's going to sound funny, but I I'm very visual, and so I visually drift into the stars. I just drift into
Mm,
a sky of stars,
nice.
and it brings me, it just settles me down. It brings me into that meditative space.
Hmm.
Um, when I'm out in the world running around or whatever, um, it's my breath. I have this 4x4 thing I do where I inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. Just
Hmm.
repeat that. That grounds me.
Yeah.
That brings my mindfulness to the forefront.
Love that.
Um, and then the other one that you actually introduced me to is the check that I have this, you know, not we talked about this in another podcast, but at 9, 6, every 3 hours, I just put my hand on my heart, my hand on my stomach, and I just check in with myself.
Yeah.
And that's just a timed routine mindfulness. Just stop
Just
the
a
madness
few seconds
for a little
every day.
while, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Just give myself 3 minutes to
Yeah. Love that.
just be. And that's actually I'm glad you asked that question, because that's probably been the most effective.
Yeah. That one to me seems like a really good one to start with.
Just set a timer.
Set a timer and just check in with yourself. That's it. Just how's my spirit right now? How am I feeling? What's going on?
Yeah. What am I reacting to?
And
What am I
even
not?
and take that opportunity just to get a little quiet. Don't go into, oh, I'm thinking I'm pissed because the guys jumped in front of me and don't do, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about just like get quiet, take a few breaths. How am I feeling?
Yeah. I mean, I still do that, but so what I do is, so it's a pause, it's a centering, right? I
Mm-hmm.
center and get in the moment, anchor into the breathing and feeling, checking in with myself. But then I allow, because that's the other essence of mindfulness, is you don't resist anything.
Mm,
And so,
don't stuff anything.
yeah, I don't stop anything. So if I'm like, oftentimes for me, like during the week or whatever, um, like I might be in between clients. So maybe the hour mark or whatever comes in, and I'm in with a client. So I can't necessarily stop then, but then I'm in between clients, and so I'll stop. And I might notice that I'm hustling, I'm pushing,
Yeah.
or I'm having a reaction to the previous session that I'm going to carry into the next session.
Yeah.
And then I don't stop. I don't resist. I'm like, that's interesting. That's it's coming in. And then what do I do with it? Well, I don't maybe do anything with it, but just let it live its course.
Mm-hmm.
Let it have its time. Let it have its focus. Sometimes I was actually just meeting with a client this morning, and this is just coming up. It's kind of random. Sorry. I was meeting with a client this morning, and this client, she noticed that, like, she's working on being more mindful, and she's trying to practice and build that muscle. And she notices that she'll feel something, and she'll recognize what it is, but then she shifts into her head,
Mm.
and she tries to find a meaning for it.
Ah.
And so she's pretty far along on her
Mm-hmm.
path. But she all of a sudden realized in that moment, she's like, sometimes it
That's,
doesn't have to mean anything.
yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it's just energy that needs to move.
Yeah. We rationalize the heck out of everything.
I know, isn't it crazy?
We have to understand everything. Well, we're curious beings. So, oftentimes we want to understand. What's that all about?
Yeah.
But
So
sometimes not. Sometimes we're asleep and we don't know, we don't care.
Lisa has created this really cool tool. It's just a simple spreadsheet, but it's still pretty cool, that she uses with her clients on mindfulness practice. And you want to share that, because that could be a nice tool that you could go onto the Practical Consciousness
Yeah.
podcast Facebook group under the units, and there's a file. This spreadsheet is there,
Yeah.
and this spreadsheet does what?
So it just is a way to build your mindfulness habits. So I got the idea. My husband has a spreadsheet that he uses when he's working out, and he finds that it's better for him to track what he's doing, and that helps him keep that habit going. So this is just for mindfulness. So I've listed things in there like meditation, exercise, having coffee, eating my breakfast, like whatever, getting dressed. I I just put some things in there. You can change it. It's a spreadsheet that you can change. Just
Yeah.
edit it.
Yeah.
But it has a column for every day of the week. And I was thinking some clients like to put a little star in there. I have one client that really likes gold stars. She uses them all the time. You know who
Back
you
to
are.
kindergarten.
You know
Back
who
to
you
kindergarten.
are.
You know who you
But
are.
smiley face, or you can put a comment in there, didn't I ate my breakfast without being mindful, rushed through it, or little whatever or you can say, yes, was very mindful and enjoyed every bite of the strawberry, or whatever. But yeah, you can conversations, I think, is one that's in there. So you can start to pay attention to how mindful you're listening to others, and you
Yeah.
can mark that in you could put like a name in there for Tuesday. James, had a conversation with James and I was very mindful and listened to what he said.
So very cool. So there's a tool, and there's I'm sure you can find many of these kind of tools and books and these other kind of
Probably.
resources like this.
Sure.
And so certainly meditation we talked about as a core one. The practice of being mindful in your routine
Yeah.
is very important. One of the things I do with my clients is I say, just pick 3 basic routines that you, brushing your teeth, whatever makes sense to you, taking a shower, cooking, whatever, and just make yourself be mindful as you conduct that activity. And just shine that flashlight on consciously shine that flashlight.
Yeah.
And then what do you experience after a week of doing that?
Yeah.
And then pick 3 other things. Driving, another really good one that I did early on in my practice, that was surprisingly interesting, because of how much I react, was, this is when I had a corporate job. I spent a week being fully mindful on the commute to work and from work.
I've done that before too.
Painful,
That's not easy.
painful.
So,
And I was shocked at how much I react in that circumstance, in that environment, because I've felt myself to be, a pretty open guy. I'm pretty at that, especially at that stage. When it came to getting behind the wheel, not so much. And then the other one I did, this was I consider it advanced practice, is I was fully mindful in all my meetings for 1 week at work, all of them.
yeah.
And there was a lot of them.
I don't let your mind drift. And yeah.
Another painful one, and a very, very reactive one.
Yeah, I bet.
And so it helps. It really helps just to build that muscle up and strengthen up that muscle.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's kind of what we wanted to bring forth today. We really wanted to talk about the practice. We really wanted to hit home the idea that there's resources, there's tools, there's books, there's so much around mindfulness, especially today, because it's become so very mainstream.
Yeah, it has.
And it is the essential pillar to
It is.
higher consciousness.
It is. But you have to practice it.
You have to.
Have to practice it.
Yeah.
You can't intellectually understand it and get anywhere with that. You have to practice it.
Yeah. And so, so go out to the Facebook page for Practical Consciousness Podcast. Join that page, download the resource, the spreadsheet. We'll maybe put some other resources out.
Yeah, there's one there now, I think, that's creating a meditation practice.
Yeah. We'll maybe put some more stuff out there. Being on the lookout if you want to join the Practical Consciousness Tribe, a separate page. It's going to be a pay to play, but we're offering a 30-day free trial. And if you're just getting started into mindfulness, we've got a course that we both teach that is going to be in that tribe. And so there's resources there to reach out to. There's some great books. It's a hot topic right now. So, but that's an essential beginning.
Yes.
A very essential beginning.
Very good place
so if you're
to
just
start.
joining us, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you want to join the conversation, please do. You want to share your ideas about some of the habits you've built around consciousness, or some of the approaches you take to it. that you
Yeah.
built that muscle. We'd love to hear it. We
Yeah.
really
You
would.
never know who you can help by sharing some of your
Never know.
ideas.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so with that, I think we've run out of time. And we are so grateful for all of you that listen to this podcast and
Yes.
Beyond Our Moms. And yeah, and watch the YouTube video that
Yeah.
we've been posting the last few episodes. So if you're watching us,
Yeah. Here we are.
Lisa is a very lovely lady. Very grateful. Um, and with that, I think we'll say goodbye. And again, appreciate you guys listening. So bye bye.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.